Welcome everybody, this is Dominic and this is the most intelligent case for God. Now, the obvious reaction is, wait a minute, the most intelligent case for God? Has to be a joke, right? And it's actually fun because that's a perfectly reasonable response, isn't it? See, for the record, I'm 21 and I'm from Greece, and until 2 years ago I was an atheist. And I used to watch, these videos about God and arguments and debates, and they were always so bad, they were so abysmal, because the person speaking was too arrogant, too self-righteous, there was too much editing, there was very little structure, very little, intelligence. I didn't like it. And the thing I love about Jesus, and God by extension, is that God always meets people where they are at. So you will see with Jesus, for example, he spoke in parables, right? And he spoke in fishing parables, in farming parables, in wedding parables. Well, why is that? Because he spoke to fishermen, he spoke to farmers, and he spoke to people who were getting married, etc., etc. And this is the same thing in the Old Testament. God always meets people where they are. However, having said that, today too many Christians and religious folk alike, they speak to atheists and the rest of their kind, the agnostics and everyone else. They speak to them so condescendingly and so patronizingly and so in such a, slanderous way and impatient. And that's wrong, isn't it? It's wrong. It's no way to speak, it's no way to be. So this is why I made this video, because I don't want to mock anybody, I don't want to make fun of anyone. I just want to offer you the most intelligent case for God, and I want to give you an understanding that you have never been given before. So I want this to speak directly to your soul, and one thing I will say before we begin is I'm not trying to convince you, because ultimately, and we both know this, nobody can convince us about ourselves, right? You and I can perfectly know that something is completely illogical, but we will not accept it. Why? Because we don't like it. So my job is not to convince you, my job is to describe and present the logic about God as cleanly as possible. So what I suggest you do is just one thing. Stay intellectually honest, stay intellectually consistent, and it's actually three things. Watch the entire video all the way through and then decide what you may do with it. So with that being said, let's begin. Now excuse my English because I'm Greek, but we are starting with, let's see if you can, truth is the identity of existence. Can you see that? Yeah. Now, why is this important? Truth is the identity of existence. Because we can have no conversation about anything whatsoever unless we agree that there is a truth. And many people will say truth is subjective, or what else? That truth is constructed by culture, or that we can't know truth. And all these, they're not true, like it's garbage. Because truth is not subjective. Experience is subjective, perception is subjective, opinions are subjective, but truth cannot be subjective by definition. And truth cannot be constructed because The people will say, oh, truth is just a social construct by religion and whatever. No, culture can construct a narrative and an opinion. You will see this very much with, let's say, North Korea, or what is it when they have a dictatorship, that they construct a narrative. You cannot say something else. But they don't construct truth. It's such a nonsensical thing to say, because truth is the identity of existence. How can you construct, as a mere mortal, identity of existence? You can't. It's already said. We cannot create a new law of thermodynamics. We cannot discover if there's anything else. So, truth is the identity of existence. Now, why is this important? Because in the following parts we'll talk about logic, we'll talk about proof versus evidence, we'll talk about what else? About valid logic, the laws of logic, and if we don't establish that truth is the identity of existence, that A equals A and not B and cannot be anything else, there can be no conversation whatsoever. So with that being said, let's go to number 2. And number 2 is gonna be that logic equals the arbiter of validity. Now, what does this mean? Logic is the arbiter of validity. You will see in many debates, someone's going to be presenting an argument and going to say the other person, oh, this is not logical, it doesn't stand to logic. But no one really defines what logic is. So logic in this space, in conversations like debates, politics, or whatever, it's what makes sense to most people. But I think that logic is the arbiter of validity. Logic decides, not me, logic decides what is valid, what proposition is valid. If I make a statement, logic validates or invalidates what I say. What example can I give you of this? Let's say that someone says, I don't know, the earth is flat, right? And the person will say, that's illogical. And then the other person will say, well, why is that illogical? So what they are appealing to is the authority of logic, the arbiter of validity. They're saying, no, this violates some laws of logic. Now, obviously, most people don't know philosophy that much or formal reasoning to put it that clear, but this is what they're trying to say. Is this clear? I hope so. Now, the third point I want to make is valid logic, because we can have, as I said, logic being by definition the arbiter of validity, but unless we define logic, it's just going to be something vague, in the air, something that it's, I think that, you think that, but we can't make sense in such manner. So, valid logic, can you see all that? Yeah. Valid logic equals, what have I written? 3 laws of logic. Before I write them down, there is 3 laws of logic, and pay attention, this is very important. So, laws of logic. Now you have the law of identity. I'm going to explain all the laws in a minute. You have the law of non-contradiction, and you have the law of excluded middle. Now, before, when I was preparing for this video, which by the way took me 25 hours, I was looking and there are some symbols here, some equations in a way where you can see more clearly like this in an abstract form, but I didn't memorize it. So, law of identity, what is it? A equals A and cannot be anything else but A. So this is a marker. This cannot be an apple. It can become something else, but it's not right now. So this is a marker. It can be anything else. It can be a leg, it can be a book, it can be a face, it can be a hair, it can be nothing else. This is only a marker and it can be nothing else. This is the law of identity. Then we have the law of non-contradiction. What this means is that when you have a statement, it cannot be both true and not true. Or it can be partially true and partially not true. For example, 1 plus 1 equals 2. It can never be 3. It can never be 2.1. It's impossible. So this is the law of non-contradiction. Now, another example of this is when you see this so much in theological debates, that they will say, oh, I don't know, I believe in God. Or, okay, why? Because I've had a personal experience. But then if someone frames the other person's personal experience and they say, well, I had a personal experience that God does not exist because of this and this and that. Can you see where I'm trying to get? That these contradict. You can't use personal experience as proof for God. You can use it as evidence, but it would be contradictory to the other person's experience. Therefore, it violates the law of non-contradiction. Because if I see God and you don't, I can't base it to make the claim that he exists. And I have had visions, I have had dreams. But anyway, I hope it was clear what the law of non-contradiction is. Next is the law of the excluded middle, and it's kind of similar to the others. So the law of the excluded middle is that A cannot be anything else but A. It's kind of the same. A is A, and then A cannot be A and B, and then A cannot be anything else but A. They're kind of similar, but if you look them up in specific examples, they will make a lot more sense. So, for example, in the law of excluded middle, some people will say there is God, there is no God, everything is God, I am God. They violate the law of excluded middle, because the middle would be where there's some type of God, there is some type, there's some level, some extent of truth. No, it's either completely true or it's completely false. This, by the way, when I started reading about God, I was like, either it's completely true or it's completely false. So that's the law of the excluded middle. I hope I made it clear. Now, the next point we have to make, very important point, proof versus evidence. Proof versus evidence. Should I write this? No. So I'm going to explain to you the difference between proof and evidence, because I've heard this so much, especially Cliff, the famous guy talking about God, or many arguments about theological stuff, political stuff, economic stuff, proof, evidence. Everyone is getting it mixed up, and it's so simple. It's very simple. Proof and evidence. What are they? Proof is truth by necessity. Proof is 1 plus 1 is 2, not because I say it, because it's tautology. Look up the word tautology. It means that something is true because of its identity to reality. It cannot be false. It's like saying, if I have 2 apples and then I have 2 more, I won't have 4. You will have 4. It's tautology. So proof is truth by necessity. Another example of this is you have, when you do philosophy, you have a premise and then another premise, and then you try to make a conclusion. For example, I don't want to leak this, but let's say that someone will say that everything produced must have a source, or every quality that exists must have a source. Beauty is a quality, therefore it must have a source. And then they will say, oh, it can come from nature, it will come to God. So that's the philosophical premise, that it's also expressed in mathematical form, because you have like premise A, premise B, blah blah blah, equals that, equals AB. So this is basically proof, and I'm going to talk about the types of proof in a minute. And then we have evidence. Now, evidence is compared to proof, truth, as we said, is truth by necessity, whereas evidence is truth by probability. You will see this very much with legal cases, that they will have with Diddy, you will see that they will have all the footage, all everything, and then the lawyer will say, I appeal to, like, there's all the evidence, but still not proof. Isn't that interesting? I think it's very interesting. So, evidence is, how else can I explain it to you? Evidence is not proof, because people will say, oh, there's evidence for God, there's proof for God. No, but which one is it? They get it very mixed up. We have both evidence for God and proof for God, but you need to present it to people clearly. So, should I say anything else about that? Evidence, and also a lot of our human interactions are based on evidence. But let's go to point 5, because I'm gonna connect everything for you. We have types of proof and evidence. Can you all see that? Types of proof and evidence. Now, there is 2 types of proof and 3 types of evidence. And someone will say, oh, there's like statistical or archaeological or derivative or whatever and whatever. But the 5 types, 2 and 3, I'm gonna show here are the main ones. It's like, these are the basic ones and the fundamental ones. So, we have about proof, we have logical proof, we have empirical proof. And then for evidence, let me put that here, let me put that here. We have, again, logical, we have empirical, and we have testimonial. So, very quickly, 2 types of proof. We have logical and empirical. Logical proof is basically what I said earlier about the premises and the tautology. Mathematics operate on logical truth, philosophy operates on logical truth, proof. Physics operates on logical proof, chemistry operates on logical proof, biology operates on logical proof. Most of science operates on logical proof, and most of the abstract science, because you have also the research and the studies. And then we have empirical proof. What is empirical proof? Empirical proof is, how would you say? It's more about the studies. So what is the scientific method? That you draw a well-defined hypothesis, and then you try to test it in a controlled environment with all the factors and variables being isolated and accounted for. And then you try to see what happens, basically. And then you draw a conclusion, and then you iterate and find your path towards the truth. That's empirical proof. This is a lot of what science deals with. So this could be, what example? Let's say that you take a supplement or eat a food and you have a disease, and then they say, oh, this supplement or this food, we have found that lowers this disease. A lot of empirical proof is about mechanism. It establishes a mechanism, and the key distinction between those two is that logical proof cannot be tangible. It's very theoretical. It's in mathematical form, it's in philosophical form. You cannot touch it. You cannot see it with the naked eye. You see it with the eye here. So empirical proof, however, is the other side of that. It's the other side of the coin. It's the proof you can't see. Science is most of science is empirical, because empirical means observable within the physical boundaries of experience. That's empirical for you. Hope it's clear. Then you have evidence, logical evidence. This would be something like you read a statistic about, should I say it, about crime rates and who does them. And then you say, okay, well, this demographic does this amount of this crime, therefore it is logical to assume that if I meet this person on the street, they're likely gonna. So that's the logical evidence for you. It's basically, how simpler can I say it? It's driving evidence from a logical statement, or from truth, or from a finding, something like that. And then you have empirical evidence. This is a lot of your findings in science that are not causal, they are correlative. So you will see, for example, that they will say couples who pray together don't break up because they did a study, and it's a correlation. It's not proof. It's not proof that if you pray you won't break up, but it is evidence, empirical. Another one is testimonial evidence. What is testimonial evidence? Testimonial evidence is basically evidence of someone who witnessed something. This is very much history. This is very much crime, justice. You will see a lot in legal cases. It's all about the testimonial. All about testimonial. And also you have this in business where people have testimonials of, oh, you're so amazing, or you're so trash. But that's the testimonial evidence for you. It's basically evidence that is derived. It's similar to empirical evidence, but it's more from an account of somebody who experienced it firsthand. But it's not the most reliable. That's why it's evidence and not proof, because proof is by necessity, evidence is by probability. So, with all that being said, what else do we have? Now, if you want to take a picture or something of this, go ahead, because I'm gonna clean it for the next part, which is gonna be the seven main positions people have about God. It's gonna be very interesting. We're gonna examine them and we're gonna say, do they make sense? Does it make sense? Or which ones make sense? Which parts make sense? This is what we're gonna do. Here, take a picture. So we have 7 positions. 7 positions. Can you guess them? I want to see if you can guess them. It really took me a minute to find out, like, if it's just those 7, because I was thinking, is there anything else? Is there anything else? And I think these are the only 7 positions about God. All other positions are based off of these. So let me start. So number 1, you have, actually let me write the 7 positions. So you have obviously the atheists. Then you have the agnostics. Then you have the spiritualists. Then you have the pagans. Can you see that again? I think so. Then you have the pantheists. These are a bit rare nowadays. Pantheists. Then you have the polytheists. And then you have the monotheists. Did I write this in the right order? Yes. So, let me come from here. Atheists, agnostics, spiritualists, pagans, pantheists, polytheists, monotheists. What do they believe in? Now, we can't go full in depth because it will take me 3 hours. But their positions are mostly simple, you know? Like, even with Christianity, the position is simple. God exists, his name is Jesus. Like, it's not that complicated. You can summarize it pretty easily. So, what does each of these people believe? Atheists will say, there's no God. Agnostics will say, I don't know. I don't know. Spirituality will say, I'm good. Or God is within. Enlightenment. It's all the same garbage. It's all the same stuff. Then pagans will say, God is the creation. Creation as in universe and everything within it. The pantheists will say, all is good. Everything is good. The polytheists will say, there's many gods. Many gods. And the monotheists will say, there is one God. Atheists, I don't think a God exists. Agnostics, I don't know or can't know if a God exists. Spiritualists, I am God or God is within me, anything of that sort. Pagans, God is the creation. You will see them worshipping nature a lot, or that sort of stuff. Pantheists, everything is God. The universe is God, I am God, my door here is God, this phone is God, everything is God. And polytheists will say, there's many gods. There's many gods. There is gods for this, for that, for love, for hate, for mercy, for money, for clothes, for women, for men, for animals, for Playmobil, for bowling, for restaurants, There's many gods. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. And then the monotheists will say, there is one God. Now, I want to draw something before I start explaining this. Where should I put it? Let's put it here. Can you see it? So this is the Earth, and this is me, and this is the universe, and this is God. So let me draw them here. This is God. This is creation. This is man, as in mankind. Put some stars. Okay, cool. So, now atheists will say, let's begin with everybody here. Atheists will say, there's no God. And then you will ask them, why do you believe that? Because one thing I also want to say before we begin, people believe things. They don't know all the time. They might believe something, they might believe in something because they know something else. But most of our behavior is belief. And what is belief? Nobody teaches you that, but I did. I looked it up. So belief, etymologically, is based on the Greek word pitho, which means to persuade. So anytime you hear someone say, oh, beliefs, false beliefs, right beliefs, I believe, you believe, it's basically saying, I am persuaded, and you are persuaded. But they try to say it as if it's something, oh, I believe that, and as if they know. Anyways, anything anybody believes is something that they are convinced to believe. But most people don't know why they're convinced. The answer might surprise you. So atheists are convinced that there is no God. So you will ask them, why is there no God? Why do you believe that? And they will say to you, well, I don't see any evidence. There's no evidence for the existence of God. That's interesting, isn't it? There is no evidence for the existence of God. Or they will say, there is no proof for the existence of God. That's a good statement. Now, in my opinion, logically, there is proof for God and there is evidence for God. But what are they saying really? There is no evidence for the existence of God. I'm going to tell you what they mean. If you're an atheist, I'm sure you will agree. So as we said earlier, there's three types of evidence: empirical, logical, and testimonial. Now, the funny thing is that nearly every atheist would have heard the logical evidence for God, or the arguments and the propositions and the numbers, Bible. They have all the logical, they've heard it all, and they decide it doesn't make sense. And they also have heard, especially now with the internet, the testimonial evidence. Oh, this person started believing in Jesus and everything changed for them, or they had a vision, or that person had a dream, or they had an encounter, or this happened. Testimonial evidence, you know. And they will hear all that, the atheists, my friend, and they're like, they'll just shrug it off. So what they're really trying to find, they're not looking for logical evidence, they're not looking for logical proof, they're not looking for testimonial evidence, they're looking for one thing, and you know what it is? They are looking for empirical evidence. This is what they're really saying. So when someone says, I don't see the evidence for the existence of God, what they really are saying is, I have not seen the empirical evidence for the existence of God. Now, there's a problem with that belief, and the problem is that, first of all, your definition of God is wrong, because empirical evidence, as we said, operates here in the creation, within this space, and God is outside it. So how would you be able to physically observe the existence of God when He is outside of creation? Do you understand how this doesn't make sense? It's like me saying, unless you show me how much justice weighs, I don't believe in it. Unless you tell me how many kilos or how tall logic is, I won't believe in it, therefore it doesn't exist. It's a category error, it's false. So, how do we answer the atheist? Well, I will answer the atheist by saying that to demand physically observable evidence, which is empirical evidence, I don't have it here, empirical evidence, in order to believe in the existence of a being that is outside of everything that is empirically observable, is intellectually dishonest. And it's a fail, because you're basically saying, well, unless I weigh the air and find out how much the air weighs, I'm not gonna believe air exists. Unless I have, I don't know, unless I can touch the proof that my mother loves me, she doesn't love me. It doesn't make sense. Like, it really doesn't make sense. I want you to understand this. It's not an attack. It does not make sense. So, this is what I would say to the atheist, that it's not a logically valid objection to say that you don't believe in God because you demand empirical evidence for a non-empirical being. God is metaphysical. Empirical evidence is for the physical. That's what I would say to the atheist. By the way, I'm going to make the argument for God later on. I want to first go through each of these positions, and then I'm going to establish it. So, next up are the agnostics. And the agnostics will say, you will tell them, do you believe in God? And they will say, I don't know, because I don't know. I don't think we can know if God exists or not. And there is like branches of theistic agnosticism or non-theistic agnosticism, which is like, I don't know, but I think not. Or I don't know, but I think it is. So this is, I've been a little bit of that in the past. But anyways, so the agnostics will say that we can't know. And what they're basically saying is that God and His existence cannot be known or debunked empirically. This is what they're saying. So they're basically limiting all their knowledge, if you wish, on empirical evidence and proof. But this is a category error, again, for the same reason the atheist made the category error before. And you're trying to demand physical evidence in a way, physically observable evidence, empirical evidence, for a metaphysical being. And you will actually see later on that I will make the case for God that the fact that you can't have empirical evidence for God and empirical proof makes the existence of God more plausible and more valid. Stay on the video and you will see why I mean it. So that's what I will say to the agnostic, my friend agnostic. Agnostic? I don't know. So next up are the spiritualists. And the spiritualists will say, I am God. But what do they mean with that? Do they mean that they are actually God? Well, many of them will say God is, or the divine is within, or we all have the consciousness. These are the words they use, frequencies, energies, all that stuff. And first of all, you will very often notice that it's almost always women who believe that, or very feminine men. I've never seen anyone in my life ever, or in anyone's life, believe the spiritual stuff and be a masculine man. I'm sorry, I have never seen it. Never. Ever. So this is a lot of a feminine ideology. Not to insult it, but let's go over it. So they will say God is within. But then, what does this even mean? Like, what does it mean to say that God is within, or that the divine is within? And what they're trying to say, but cannot or will not, is that God attributed or God-given abilities and experiences are within, and God-given capacities are within, and that's affirmative from the Bible, because we're made in God's image, the Imago Dei, as in Genesis, first chapters. But to say that God is within, it's very interesting. A lot of Buddhists will say that, a lot of New Age people will say that, a lot of mystics, some occultists, they will say that a lot, although they differ the wording. But in any case, God is, I am God, or God is within. Why doesn't this make sense? Well, as we said, God is here. God is here. So how can God be here? Inside you? How? That's a category error. It's the wrong category. Because people for some reason use words, but they don't use the words. They just use like the letters. Like a word has a meaning. God is God, as we said previously, in the law of non-contradiction, the law of identity, logic, truth. God cannot be anything else but God. Similarly to how a man cannot be anything else but a man. Similarly to how stars, creation, the universe, cannot be anything else than themselves. So to say that God is within you, it's a logic fail. It's invalid logic. It doesn't stand to the identity of existence. It's not true. It's false. It won't help you in life. Do you understand? So this is about the spiritualist friends, that I am God or God is within. No, you're not. And God isn't within you. The Holy Spirit can get within you. It says in the Bible when you get saved. But it's not now. So God is not within. You have reason, you have emotions, and you have free will. These are within you. But this is not God. This is something God has given you, which is your soul. Your soul is a composite of your mind, that's the reasoning, your emotions, that's the feelings, and the free will. That's your, what's the word for it? That's your volition, your free agency, your will. But it's not God, this is not God, it's something God has given you. So anyways, this is about my spiritualist friends. Should I say anything else about them? It's simply a category error. It's like saying my nails are within me. No, my nails are outside me. They're on my hands, they're on my fingers. Guys, words have meanings. Use them. Next up is our friends, the pagans. Now, I haven't really met a pagan, I think, before in my life. I've seen them in the internet, and I've read about them. The Bible speaks about pagans, and Roman Catholicism has a lot of that. Orthodox has a lot of that. And what paganism is, it basically means worshipping idols. Now, what is an idol? An idol comes from the Greek word idolo, which means a form, a type, or a resemblance of that which is. This is what an idolo is. So, this is what pagans do. They will take, you will see this very much, they will say, we worship the sun. That was your Egyptians back then. Or we worship the moon. Or we worship, by the way, about this with the moon, you will see that the Islamic symbol, or I don't know what exactly symbol it is, it's about Muslims. It is a crescent, a moon, and a star. Isn't that interesting? But this is what pagans do. They worship the creation, they worship the universe, they worship planets, they worship woods, trees, the earth, Mother Earth, they worship animals. You will see this a lot in the Old Testament. You will see this, they just worship created things. This is what they do. They worship created things. And it's a lot tribalistic, it's very cultural. You will see that it passes down from generation to generation. There's not a lot of like intellectual teaching about it, it just is. And this is about the pagans. So what else do we have? Pantheists. All is good. Everything is good. So your friend, the pantheist, would say the universe is good and everything in it is good, but this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. Because again, to say that all of this is good means that this guy, God right here, also is man, me, and it's also the earth, all this, and it's also the universe, all this, and the stars, and the creator. Guys, for the love of God, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You cannot explain it in a way where you can bend logic to your will. This is simple reasoning, the laws of logic, and truth as the identity of existence. Man, creation, God, this is not all God, otherwise the word God loses its meaning. It's meaningless. So it's not true. Should I say more about the pantheists? There is a very small demographic. Anyway, so let's move on to polytheists. Now a polytheist will say there's many gods. Hindus, for example, believe that. Or some Muslims say that Christians believe it. We don't. Nobody ever does. There's some heresies about it or whatever. But you will also see this about polytheists with, they very often mix it with mythology. For example, in Greece, there was the pantheon, the 12 gods, where you had Zeus, you had Mars, you had a lot of gods, and they were like about war, about wisdom, they were about providence, they were about work, the sea, Poseidon, and they were very often mythological. There was no proof or evidence. And this is what a lot of people would say, God of the gods. Oh, people used to explain things they couldn't logically explain with the God, the supernatural. That's a valid point, and that's the polytheists for you. That's what I believe. Now, what's the problem with it? The problem is that when you have many gods, they're not gods, because God can't be many. How can it be many? How can it be many? It's one mankind, it's not one planet, because we have the sun and the moon and all that, but it's one universe, and then it has to be only one creator. Because what they're referring to is not actually God or a creator. It's like forces. Like love is not a creator. Love is a feeling, and it's a spiritual state and commitment, but it's not God. Now we can say the Christian doctrine of that about how God is love, but it's not meant in the same way as if God is the person. Or let me put it another way, they would say that there is a god of war or a god of the sea, but they will name the guy and it's like Poseidon. Well, why is he God? this is fictional. That is fictional. Like, there's no evidence to back it up. And these guys kind of overlap with the pagans a lot, because they also like made statues. And I mean, if you think there is a god of the sea, don't you worship the sea? I think you do. So the last one is my friends, the monotheists. What do monotheists believe? There is one god. So basically, think we are a mankind. There's an earth, planets, stars. There's a universe. God is outside it. He made it. Now, I'm not done arguing for God, because this was just about all the positions. But let's very quickly run all of them again very quickly to see what they were all about. Atheists, there's no God. How can you know that? There's no evidence. No, you're only looking for the wrong evidence, buddy. Like, with all due respect, it's like saying, tell me how much justice weighs, otherwise I won't believe in it. Yes, you do, and you haven't. Like, it's very simple stuff. Agnostics, I don't know. You're looking for the wrong evidence. Again, the same as the atheist. You need to look for logical proof and logical evidence and literally everything else besides empirical evidence and proof, because you will not find it. And it's intellectually dishonest, and it's also a category error, as I explained previously. Then you have the spiritualists say God is within. No, it's not. God is not within. It's not God. It's your emotions. It's your opinion. It's your experience. It's some tingly feelings. It's not true. It just isn't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be the messenger, but it just isn't. Pagans will say God is the creator. No. An animal is not God, bro. An animal can't save you. What can an animal do? The sun is God. No, the sun is not God. He won't speak to you. He's not God. The sun just makes light. Guys, you have to grow up. Pantheists, all is good. No, all is not God, because whenever something is everything, it's nothing. Imagine everyone was 6 feet tall. Then they wouldn't be called tall. They would be called normal. It's very simple. Anytime you put equality universally, it loses the fact that it's equality. No one goes on the street and says, or no one walks out of their house, comes back and says to their family, wow, I saw a 2-legged man today. You saw a 2-legged man. Buddy, everybody has 2 fucking legs. Like, guys, let's think a little bit, please. No, not everything is God. God is something specific. Someone specific. That's over here. Then you have the polytheists, many gods. No, there's not many gods. Because God, by definition, cannot be many. And definitely not how they present the Hindus, 4 billion gods or something. God is one. And the monotheists will say, God is one. So now that we went through all the positions, I mean, I think I did a pretty good job of running them through the crucible and testing them and trying them. I don't see how anybody can believe these things. And mind you, I was an atheist and I was an agnostic, and I have heard spiritualists, pagans not really, can't they? I have also heard polytheists. My best friend is actually a polytheist. A little bit actually. And I have heard also the monotheists. And I spent a lot of time, about 2 years, looking into everything. And guys, all of this is just not rational. It's against logic. Why do people believe it? Because they want to believe it. We'll get into that later. So what are we doing next? Let me look at my beautiful notes. So now it's the fun part. Now we're gonna take a picture here if you want. Now we will establish the most intelligent case for God. This is my argument. My great argument. So, the most intelligent case for God. Pay attention. This is very important stuff. the most intelligent case for God. Now, we will begin by the most intelligent case for God. And this has three parts. And the first part is the fact that, let me put this here. Creation is governed by time, space, and matter. Everything that begins to exist, whatever it is, has to exist somewhere, sometime, and as something. Matter. It exists sometime. It came to existence. Someone made it. It exists somewhere in my room. And it exists as something. The marker. That's the law of identity. It is a marker. So, how do we write this? Universe equals time, space, matter. So as so, time, space, and matter. And by the way, all these have past, present, future, width, height, and length. No, wait. Width, height, length, depth, what is it? Something like that. And then you have solid, liquid, gas. The trinity of trinities. Now, as of that, all these are created, not eternal. All these are created, they're not eternal. Time had a beginning. The universe had a beginning. Space had a beginning. Matter had a beginning. That means that if they had a beginning, that beginning, or that cause for the beginning, had to be something that was. Had to be outside time, space, and matter. What does this mean? Whatever caused the universe to exist and the creation to spawn had to be eternal, meaning timeless, omnipresent, meaning spaceless, and it had to be a spirit, immaterial. Hope you can see it clearly here. So, what's my argument for the most intelligent case for God? The universe is governed by time, space, and matter. This is all the universe is. All the galaxies, the earth, every single thing, including ourselves and all life physical, is governed by time, space, and matter. Nothing we can do can change that. Now, all these things are not eternal. They were created, they had a beginning. So, time cannot be infinite, it can't be God, this can't be God, this can't be God. They are contingent upon something, they depend upon something. They were created, and they had to be created at an instant, at a Big Bang. Because if you created time and the others first, where would you put time? Or if you created space first, what would you put in it? These have to be here, they have to be in an instant. They have to be spawned immediately, simultaneously, at the same time. Now, for a creator to make sense logically, we need a creation. It is logical to assume that this marker was made by someone. Now, it's a factory, but it's reasonable to assume that this door was made by someone because it exists. It's within the universe. Now, for the universe to make sense, it had a creator. We need to establish that it was created, it was a creation, that's here. Then we need to establish that they were not eternal, that's here. And then we establish that this creator, to be logical, has to be eternal, omnipresent, and the spirit. So he has to be outside time, outside space, and outside matter. Timeless, spaceless, immaterial, eternal, omnipresent, spirit. And you know what? This is the perfect description in most of the major monotheistic religions about God, especially in the Bible. I could give you the verses, but I didn't really write any down. I want to keep this quite short. But this is here a very simple description of God. The Bible validates it. I'm pretty sure the Quran does too. But that's God. That's a monotheistic God. He's timeless, spaceless, immaterial. That's the simplest presentation you could do to the idea of God. And God cannot be anything else but these things. This is the fundamentals. Being loving, being omnipotent, all these things, they are contingent upon these things. Got it? Okay, cool. So, now somebody will ask me, that's it? That's the most reasonable case for God? That's the most intelligent case for God? That's it? That's just it? Well, yeah, that's just it, because this is proof that God exists. This is logical proof, as I said earlier, because it leverages logic and the laws of logic. Then we establish proof by putting the premises together about how the universe constitutes these things, how these things are not eternal, and how everything not eternal has to be created. And then for everything to be created, there has to be a creator. And for a creator to make sense about our creation, which is the universe, he has to be all these things, which he is. And this is what most monotheistic religions describe him as. So, with that being said, someone will say, well, Dominic, that's amazing. You say it's so good, so simple, even in your second language, English. But why don't people still believe in God? It's a good question, because the answer is very simple. We do not believe, let me put it another way. Human beings don't live their lives on truth. Human beings live their lives based on what they are convinced they should live them with. Muslims do some things which are very fucking weird. Jews do, some Catholics do, non-religious people do. Why? Because they are convinced, not because it is the truth. You need to understand, most people don't sit down, pen and paper, hard thinking and analyze what they believe in. A lot of it is mimetic. Oh, my family believes this. Oh, my friends believe it. Oh, my favorite celebrity or whatever believe it. Yeah, but you didn't do the convincing to yourself. You're taking in pre-chewed food. It's already processed. You can't do that because 99% of the times it's garbage. So someone will say, well, why therefore do the atheists stay atheists and the agnostics and everyone doesn't just believe in the obvious truth? It's the truth, you just proved it. Why doesn't everyone believe it? Because we will not convince ourselves of something unless we decide we want to live according with it. And that's insane. That's very insane, because you can know that something is true, and you will see this very much with life lessons. I can tell you about mine. Let's say a lesson I learned. I drive since I was 18. and I was driving very confidently. Now, I'm not gonna tell you what happened, I actually will. I crashed the car. And I knew I shouldn't be driving fast or driving late. But for me, I crashed the car one day at like 3 a.m. after my work 2 years ago because I wanted to go relax a bit after work somewhere in some place by the beach. And then I just crashed as I was returning and the car flipped. Like, this is an obvious case of knowing what is right, knowing the truth, and still not doing it. Why? Because you don't want to do it, you don't like it. Why would I not drive at night? I'm 18. Do you understand? This is the rebellious spirit. This is what you guys must understand. But it's not serving you. This is not serving you. This is bad for you. And this applies to many, many things in life. About health, about money, finances, about relationships, about God. Many, many things. So you need to do this before it's late. You need to be wise. So why do people not believe in God? Because they do not want to. Well, why do they not want to? That's a good question. Well, they don't want to because they don't like the idea of God, but the most precise explanation is 2 reasons why people do not want to believe in God. So the obvious reason is pride. What does pride say? Pride says, I don't want to believe in God because God is above me. I am not God. And I can't accept that. And you see this very much. People who are atheists, they're very often very angry. They're very hostile also. Not all of them, but a lot of them. They will be very hostile, very mocking, they're not happy individuals overall. And they try to have authority. I don't know how to explain this better, but you will see that in their lives, they will argue that there's no objective truth. Why? Because if you say there's objective truth, that means that you can't define truth. That means that you can't validate what you do objectively. It means that if you do something wrong, you will feel bad about it. And you don't want to feel bad about it. So that's a problem. That's pride. It's rebellion against truth. That's basically it. And then you have pain. I'm hurt, therefore I can't believe in God. I can't trust God because I'm hurt. Religious people have hurt me, Christians have mocked me. I was abused as a child, my life has been unfair, I am sick, I have so many problems, why doesn't God help me, why did this happen to me? I know such stories of people and they do deserve compassion. It's not the same as the other guys who are prideful, but you need to understand that your life, if you're hurt, it will only get better with God. God will give you everything you needed. If you are hurt and you can't trust God, I can promise you that God will give you everything you need. All the meaning you need, the strength you need, all the understanding you need. God will supply it to you. And you can't do this on your own. And this life will be hard and unfair. But if you do it with God, it's more worthwhile. And for every step that you make towards God, God makes 1,000 steps towards you. So don't feel alone. God will never betray you, and God will only try to teach you things. So try to seek Him. It's all for your benefit. And if you are proud, what I will say to you is understand that your life will never be better without God. You may have had some bad experiences or been mocked like the hurt guys, or you may not understand everything properly. But you need to comprehend that life with God is so infinitely better and more worthwhile. Life with God, you are never alone, and you can always find more understanding. You can always get answers. There's always hope. So, with all that being said, the video must be about an hour or something now. There must be about 3 types of you right now. There must be the yes people, the no people, and the maybe people. So the yes people are gonna be the guys who have been very convicted throughout this video. They have heard my arguments, they heard the reasoning, they liked me, they liked what I said, and they got convinced that what I said is true. To these guys, I will say, praise God, that's amazing. Hope you stay tuned for my next stuff, and I will leave my Instagram on the description for you if you have any questions. Maybe you're new, to ask me so I can help you, give you some directions. Although I'm a bit busy, I will try to answer to everybody. So this is amazing. Now for the no guys, the defiant guys, we will be praying for you. If you reject God after all this proof, if you rebel and are prideful, we will pray for you that you get a softened heart and that God gives you opportunities to reach Him. God gives you experiences that teach you and help you, and that God has mercy on you and love. And now the last category of you would be the maybe people. It would be the unsure. It would be those who are unsure, have questions. And what I will say to you is to keep seeking, keep asking. You can reach out to me, as I said, on Instagram if you have any questions I can help you or direct you with. Keep asking questions. I was an atheist 2 years ago, as I said. I asked many questions. And it took a long time, but don't give up. Listen to this voice that says that there is something. Try to pursue it with intellectual honesty, consistency, and try to look for the truth without wanting it to be a specific way. Try to look for the truth and then accept the consequences of what the truth will be. Now, with that being said, I hope this video has been a blessing to you. It did take me 25 hours to prepare for, and another 1 or 1.5 to film. And I truly hope that it wasn't me who spoke here, but it was pure logic. I really hope that. And as I said, if you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram. But besides that, God bless you all. And this is the most intelligent case for God.